Guys, to another exciting episode. Let's talk. And yeah, we've been MIA for Ixesha Elite, guy, but like we'll explain that later. And namhlanje, yeah, we're excited, guys. We're here joined again by another guest. And yeah, Izinga Manlenyoka, we just keep on getting better. We are here with a journalist, award-winning journalist. Yes, guys. We'll hear further more about him as the interview Iamba. So like in front of you guys is Puti Soyiso Maliti, and yeah, journalist. He is award winning for indoor dysfunctionalities. Nearly 300 KwaZulu Natal councillors can't read or write. You should check that article out. So like let's get straight into our interview.
Okay, will you please tell us about yourself?
As he said, my name is Soyiso Maliti, and I'm a politics reporter. Been a politics reporter since at least 2016-17. I started at the week in August, where ndisebenza kwi-legislature yalapha Western Cape, bhala about DA, ANC, and then I ventured into mainstream politics reporting at the Daily Dispatch in East London, in the Eastern Cape. And I came back for about a year or two before I went out as a politics reporter again in KZN. I was born in Khayelitsha, I grew up here. My parents are labor migrants from the Eastern Cape. I am from there by tradition, by culture, by everything else. And basically, yeah, these streets that we are on, I grew up here in the 90s. We used to run around here.
Okay.
So I know every development in this place. But I'm glad to be here. And I wish this show is not only about me, it's about you, your podcast, and myself, knowing one another and just, yeah.
Okay, so like why journalism?
Yeah, I think as early as grade 9, I knew what I was gonna do. It started as some wild fantasy. There's something that happened personally to me, and as a kid, I was like, I'm gonna get these people. Yeah, and then there was a project that in grade 9 in Paul Roos, an English teacher by the name of Miss Lloyd instructed us to do, and I think it was about magazines or newspapers. You had to do one of those. So, and she asked for like 20 pages or so, and I went super into it. I did like 50 pages, and then I got one of the highest marks. And she said if I want to do anything with my life, I should choose journalism. So when there were open days, when they have open days in grade 11 or grade 12, I knew already in grade 9 where I wanted to be. Friends of mine would tell you that I went to school with, that I knew as early as grade 9 that I wanted to be what I am today. So from grade 9 till now, I've never had a doubt that this is what I want to do.
So like with the type of journalism that you do as well, I think we've heard, in fact, but now it's political. So like why political journalism?
There's a saying that goes, Ubana, if you don't do politics, it will do you. So I went into journalism. My first job as a journalist, I was a sports reporter at some company where I got fired. I'll tell you a story about that later. But then as I started working for other companies, I decided, I saw that, I noticed that politics is more interesting. It's about your livelihood, it's about your family, it's about decisions made by people that could affect you for the rest of your life. So I never set out to be a political reporter. I just, as I said before, politics zona zizakulandela.
Okay. Like, what sort of personality do you need to have? Journalism.
Oh yeah, outing a personality to unganyaba, you can be a loud character, ungaba ngumuntu nje, man. It really has no attribute that you need to have as a person. It's just nje wena ibanguwe. Eventually journalism is mandithi umzekelo ngumuntu onyabileyo. Journalism hardens people, ndibene nabantu abanyabileyo on the field. like 2 years later lo muntu lo sayithatha ne-politician kanje uba yamkhomba, like not yamkhomba but mbuza i-questions is very hard. But so yeah, journalism molds abantu to what they are. Like umzekelo ndikhule ndingumuntu ondwebileyo but as ndikhula ngireserved because of into endizibonayo.
Okay. So like, what was your first article like?
I think one of the first articles I remember, it's not the first, but it happened in 1 week. And I interviewed Steve Compella. So imagine I'm 21 years old. Steve Compella, uthetha extracurricular, like that's not even a big word, but Steve Compella was in his element. Uthetha ngamagama amakhulu, yabo. Xa Steve Compella ba ngicela ume kancinci ubhuti, yabo. Most newsrooms there are a lot of books. And I had the dictionary. Serious. Yeah. Steve is a theater. Ebonymous. I get journalism. Like clashes smartphones. I think BlackBerry or before BlackBerry. So you couldn't record as a theater. So when I go pale phansi notes, 30 notes. So imagine ngoku ndiyabhala ndithetha no Steve ndiyabhala ngapha ndiya-translator. So at once funeka most journalism ingqondo yakhe ibaleka. So what was the question, Anel?
What was your first article like?
Oh yeah, so it being with Steve, ne? And then Steve, I knocked it out of the park. And me editors for simplifying it for a reader. I'm a huge soccer fan, I'm yabo. The second article, young Mchita works strong with Sive Langwe at University. Yeah, but then some as Bawaya. Then the third one, Mark Boucher. Yeah. So those were memorable.
So how do you stay up to date with the events and trends?
Yeah, we live in a fast-paced news world, news cycle. In an hour you'll read I'll read like say 10 or 20 stories on an average day. I have to be in the know. I need to know everything. On top of knowing, I have to read books, because what am I gonna say? Same again. You don't read by the way. I have to go interview a politician, and he speaks to academics all the time.
Yeah.
In order to hold him accountable, I have to know something. I have to know a lot of things, not something. So I read from 8 o'clock in the morning up until I go to bed, and I go to bed very late, like at 11 o'clock. Say sometimes because I have kids, I'll miss some of the day from 5 to about 9 when we have dinner and all of that. But I'll use that time after 10 to... It's not healthy, but you have to because it's a fast-paced world, and you have to know everything.
I think you just answered my next question, because I was going to say, how does it affect your social life? Because it seems like you have a busy schedule.
I know you have to have a social life, otherwise. To answer your question about social life, no, you have to keep a balance when I feel to. But I do go out. Ndiyaphuma nefamily yam, ndihamba ne-friends zam, maybe, and I'm privileged enough to live in 2 provinces.
So accuracy, is it a thing, given that we see like a lot of fake news being published?
Accuracy is the most important thing in journalism. Despite what you said about news cycle being fast, as you're gonna get some things wrong, but you need to write what you write and go back, check, double check, triple check, quadruple check when the show you're not misleading people. Accuracy is so important, especially in times like we are in an election year. There's gonna be a lot of misinformation. You need to identify what you think, or you need to identify trustworthy news sources and keep to it. But even they will make mistakes, so you need to be able to discern what is fake, what is real. And also as a person, you can see if something's reasonable. Like I can make an example for what was proven to be a fake story, the 10 babies thing. Like everyone just, there was, when you read that story, you're like, No, i-fake le nto lena yabo. So as umntu ngawe bokuzicingela usebenzisa ingqondo uba no man ayinokwenzeka into enje yabo, not uba benobakho abantwana bayi-10 but just the way indlela ebekwa ngayo istory yonke boquestiona everything that you read. Yeah.
So can or is the media being used as a political tool? Like, for example, maybe
Character assassination.
Yeah.
Can you say that again? What?
Yeah.
Can
or is the media being used as a political tool? For example, on character assassinations, things like that.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting question. I'll start off by to respond to. I'll start off by saying the best example of that is American politics. Bona phana uyasmerwa phana, kukho legacy media that is being, or Fox News, as a big companies bias. Yeah. Like phana yazi uba okay lena kuyiparty ezithu major pha i-GOP na Democrat. Sikhona ezaziwayo uba lena i-pro, like uFox, yazi uFox News uba pro Grand Old Party or Republican. Lena like liberals, Democrats, like liberal media is always most of the times aligned to Democrats. So there is low element in media, but as a journalist and also as readers, you need to be careful not to be sucked into smearing people's names. And as a reader, you need to know when a story, you need to be able to discern what he has no. You can easily tell, but sometimes the facts don't lie. When I, as a reader, if a reporter can make you see if facts, that's our job. Most when I born is facts. When if I was born in facts, in this balai, you have a right to who's question. Okay, if umngana wakho uzaba mfethu kwenzeka mntwana sona iqondi la nto yabo. As a reader akufanekanga nawe like ube ngumuntu nje ufunda uba he said, she said. Funda in between those words about what's happening. But
so like in journalism, is it more about the facts than a story? Like, don't answer this now from a personal point of view, like just in general and with what you see around. Like, is it more about facts or the story I want to publish?
So is journalism about facts more than a story?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's easy for you to get sucked into just, that Friday and I'm planned. I need to put the story out. Yeah, man, you're selling much it. It happens if you don't know. For example, in my early days in my career, I'd be like, there's no Friday and I'm planned like much it. It's a strong statement. This is right and the sentence and I'm saying about with type. So it answers your question about the facts being so you need to be super careful as a journalist to be able to present the facts than to just say yes one from the story like a deadline. So the communication in the newsroom becomes key. How's you meet a deadline, because we there's this tendency of now please editors deadline is at 4 o'clock. When it's 3:30 clash, I'll get a single phone call usemva, like when your day starts most when say phone calls, verify information, totally proof your limit. Sometimes then say around 2 minutes to 3 and got the next. And Ben next bentlana. Well, editor yakuba, I don't have the facts right now. Can the story hold? So I can do it overnight, and then you reach some sort of agreement with I worked overnight so in the pair the following day. So it boils down to communication.
Okay, so what influence is there in political journalism from the media houses or / political parties?
I can make examples of media houses trying to peddle in politics. There are a lot of examples. I'm not gonna mention names, but I worked for a company where there was this political strategy going into a conference. Some people view that as meddling in the affairs of the said party. So there was one president was supposed to was going. There was a political conference. Two presidents. I mean, a president and his deputy are contesting for the same position, that is president. So I was in a media house that had a political strategy to cover that conference, but in that strategy, we had the banners or the colors of the party. Our strategy was contained in a pamphlet that had the banners of the party, and people were outraged by that, saying, "How could we do this? This is editors just meddling in politics." And I could hear their view, but honestly, every media house has a political strategy going into elective conferences or elections, but it just depends how you play it out. So you have to manage how you're perceived. You have to manage how you go into conferences, elections. You have to be super aware of what you're doing, and you have to consider you have to consider things like uba ngoku andizujonga uba ndiya-interferisha as a reporter. So yeah.
So like, how do you separate your personal comments on social media from the media house you work for? Like, I freedom to freely express yourself as an individual. Who is a journalist?
Interesting question. Ngakwenza umzekelo ngoku, we live in a time where there's this situation at Gaza, Israel and Palestine. I come from an activist family, so naturally I'm inclined to ndiyachiseka xa ku-issues ezinje, xa omnye umntu ecinezela ndichiseka nyhani bethu yabo. And waske varsity I was a political student, ndingena kwezinto, so you have to balance it. Kodwa mfethu zikhona ezinye izinto khona no mana andingumntu man. Xa ubona umntana unathu enantsi kwayibhombu uzathi andiyireporta mandingakhomenti pha. So you have to know where to say man, this is too much man. So commander apha le ayiyo le.
But is that some sort of a risk?
It is a risk, because corners new newsrooms as very strict nge social media guidelines are. Of course now we also comment recklessly like kwizinto zonke on every political issue ukhona, saying this or that, especially xa uyi-politics reporter per se. I can't mhlawumbe Julius, there's an ongoing joke on social media uba Julius Malema i-flip-flopper. Andizufika nam ndithi pha uJulius Malema flip-flopper. Funeke ndibe professional, ndim-engage uMr Malema xa ndidibana nangolo hlobo. Xa kusithiwa Helen Zille is a racist, andithi Helen Zille is a racist. Xa kusithiwa maybe ANC is corrupt, andizuthi ku-social media ANC is corrupt. Or i-PAC ayibonakali like useless. And that is, it's very reckless for you as a journalist who commenta kanjalo ku-social media.
Oh, you also talked about perception, no? So as a journalist, how you perceive, does it affect you getting a job? Maybe let's say you want to move from the current company that you're working with.
100%, but it's something I've dealt with. So like a personal question, so he answered out. Yeah. No, it's very important, and igama lakho is very important. Sometimes I've dealt with these situations where it editor and the story. Sibona mane story ayi nonsense and ufaka mna igama lami engxakini. Or icompany yakho yenza nonsense. Yenza into ezingacacanga man, like story asibonakali. Iyaka-affecta loo nto because igama lakho lipha. And if ungathetha neyiphi na journalist other than ezakuxelela, igama lakho is very important. Once you associate nento ezithile, that mud is very difficult to come off.
So like in fact like politicians and people who are up, they use like media to push agendas and so forth.
They do. He asked this question when we were offline. They do. There's what we call embedded journalism. Journalists or politicians to call journalists and then talk. We hang out with journalists, but not sometimes you need to know when to draw the line when you hang out with the politician. Me, I go when a politician calls me to say we need to hang out. I go there telling him to give me information. I'm not gonna sit with him to drink alcohol with him. I'm gonna ask him for information to tell me what he knows. You know, politicians will say, we'll give you information. If you're that kind of person who calls them to say, can we go out for this? Can we go out and can we chat about something? Politicians will 100% give you information. Like maybe they'll say off the record, give you information. That, yeah. But if when I'm socializer ne politicians as a political reporter at every gathering, private gatherings, it's very easy for you to be sucked into their agenda. It's very easy for you to be an embedded journalist. So you need to be careful at all times. You need to know when politicians will contact me like at 8 or 11 or 12 or 1 sometimes or 2 o'clock. My woman always complains about this. They do that. To give you information. I always accept that kind of. I don't mind. But when a politician says, China is a man masohlala, bayithanda whiskey expensive ngamajelo. When uyohlala phana ufika uselela whiskey ngomgqibelo uzakuxelela yonke into ofuna uyiva. Monday uza kubetha ngecall. Not uba ndiyayenza loo nto, zandayenza loo nto, ndikubonisa nje i-dangers of i-journalism, i-relationships between political reporters nenantsika ne-politicians. Monday uza kufowunela akunike story. Already so inclined towards his thinking because nihlala nonke masincela nonke. Ungahlala nomuntu osela naye ungabikho inclined towards his thinking. So you need to know where to draw the line. Uthi no andizami into ezinje.
Okay. Given that kuyabulawana gqitha kwi-politics ne. So don't you when as a political journalist ke ngoku fear for your life sometimes mhlawumbi ubhale into ethile izawucaphisa uzimali.
Yeah, interesting question. I've had some near-death experiences with journalism, or some scary experiences. Yeah, there's always that element. You know, I've been doing a project. You can read it online. It's called Killing Counselors. KZN's dangerous. Bayabulalana counselors. I think the stats was 150 counselors since. I think not politicians since 2012. 150 politicians at KZN alone had died by gun. Yeah, and since September last year, I think about 20. So there's in politics, where there's money in politics, there's always about to be something wrong or up. So to answer your question, I always make it a point to be safe. I'm always aware of my environment. I have ways to manage my cell phone that I obviously cannot say up. And yeah, I've had some scary stuff happen to me with journalism. One time, I wrote about a cult that was on the list of the FBI. A cult in Belleville, believe it or not, ilapha Belleville, yayiranwa ngabantu abangama-colored. Cabale cawe yayine-links to the Numbers Gang. Baleso story. The story is still online, by the way. I'll just find it for you and send it. Baleso story. It was Nansabenza weekend, August. It was published, I think, Saturday or Sunday. Monday, ndiyongena emsebenzini. Xa ndifika kukho i-email ethi wonke umuntu makaphume, there's a bomb in the building kanye into enjalo. Esaphuma kwathiwa mna mandigoduke. Even ndifuna i-bodyguards nditsho because laa email yaya-addressed kwakuthethwa ngam, yabo. Xa ndilapha endlini ndifumane i-email zithi ezimax ndijongile zandibona uba ndiphi. Paranoid nyhani kule thuba elitsha kwakusekho i-development laa ndawo kuthiwa yi-home ngoku. Yeah. So ngoku bathethayo ne ndijonge imoto aba bantu ndanoba babe-surveyors okanye bayintoni ngathi babejonge nge-binoculars or something like that. So the paranoid Zimela phansi kwebhedi. Zimela phansi kwebhedi. Yeah, ndikhutshwa what was then my girl, my lady ngoku. Kuba sophuma phansi kwebhedi ma. Yabo. And then the other time ndahamba ke ngoku uyikhemakas naya e-Eastern Cape. Abuya Eastern Cape because there was a threat on my life, pana. One of the managers got a call from crime intelligence. Yathi daily dispatch management yanifaka eplane noma kabukho mama banana ba. Basifaka eplane. Sizama ne-bodyguard, by the way. But a bodyguard the whole weekend, and then we were in a safe house. They put us in a safe house. I think it was Monday qualified sazangapha. Ngilahlala apha for some time ndisebenza virtually. Then I decided no man, this is not worth it to sebenza online. I contacted my old boss, but then I got bored quickly because I got drawn to that danger element. I just like politics. Then I got umsebenzi KZN, based KZN. So I'm doing what I like again. So there's always a machita, like my friends will joke about. It's done with danger rats, it's done with shush. But nah, it's not about that. As in Tanda, sometimes zine element understand you.
Yeah.
But with a yega element when you have ways around as well. Don't you think ngebin fumene if they were out there, about like uzotuyeke into ngendongayazi imiyeza or not? Yeah.
Another question. Umpho Dakata.
Yeah.
Ubeke wathi kwezinye yonye interview, I think Panuel, no?
Yeah.
Judging by corruption by case, and then there are people who are on a payroll, called Abasebians.
Yeah.
How true is that?
But again, it goes back to like question we was about the accuracy of media. Gobe Tetalando, did he present the facts? Did he, as in a bank statement, low patalong ban? So you see why I cannot venture into that to answer that, because that's how fake news spread. If as a political reporters we hear a lot of things, we hear a lot of rumors. Kwangezi politicians ehlebana nohlebana. Andizuthatha loo nto ndiyoyifaka ephepheni. Yebo? If in the bond but no, there's something up, man. They're out there. There are ways to get information, many ways. Yeah.
Okay, so any question is how do we use the media to promote voting? Also, what is your opinion on the youth like voting?
Yeah. I forget if that memory is very bad, but I know for a fact that he turnout here young voters is very low. And especially for abantu that are on social media always complaining about yo useless le party leninje. You should be that change uye wena uyoyenza lonto. Andiyazi ba abantu bakuthi banga overcome njani lonto, like just uye nje ukhe ufunde imanifesto yeparty uthi yazi lento ithetha nami. Maybe learning ngenze so yabo mandikhe ndivotele leyo okanye lena ayithethe nami mandivotele leyo yabo njalo. But ke mfethu there are many organizations like organization kaMbali Nduli, former DAMP, Change X igama layo. Mbali needs to be complimented for starting that idea. Mbali is going out there. Abantwana mfethu ngoku like youth thina si setshwaleni si every like even on Mondays sometimes. Mbali Nduli is going out there with spaces where there's youth. Zamba convinced, but guys, let's vote. Yeah, but Mbali could have easily just gone into another political party, afumani salary fat, but she chose by as known. By the way, I'm not paid by Mbali to say this. There are very few people who spend their own money but fundraiser to be able to travel around the country. The importance of voting. So we need inansika ezinjeyana, we need messages ezinjeyana as the outside, as other than like just saying, mfethu uphi ngoku noma samsesela.
I mean, like even IEC themselves don't do that and go to his goal.
I see kwindawo yonke they can only do so much yabo. IEC is underfunded okudala yabo, like every other entity yabe say we are cutting budgets, so we need as many activist organizations okanye abantu that are going to school ulucha to say this is why it's important for you to vote.
So like to close off, like your message to the youth, to us.
I'm the youth, by the way, too.
Okay. To us.
I'm the youth.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we should go out to vote, guys. Especially, well, I'm not gonna. No, let me say. I was gonna say especially the black youth. I don't wanna just reduce your podcast to being about black people. You need to expand your podcast to reach wider audiences.
Definitely.
So that white, black, Indian, green people can, or colored people can follow your podcast. Now, any good message here, no, nothing about. Be as pro-black as you can, because but also just try to spread to a wider audience. But to answer your question about voting, no, as ulutsha funeke siyene out there sivote. Uhlala nje sisela utywala akuzisandawo ezingxaki nicinga bafana bazisetywaleni ningakwazi usolve by uvota serious. Nengazi loo nto bafethu uvota, like awuthi xa kuzovota uzonika imali, but uvota kwakho, the change is going to happen one way or the other. So even uhleli endlini ulina liba negative all the time, okanye uyoyika uyovota because andiyazi, but let's go out there to vote. Yazi ngeqala uhlala like kanje bendimobuza imibuzo all the time.
Be asking questions.
Ndimaqhela ukubuza abantu imibuzo. Yeah.
Another question I have, what would you say kumuntu ofuna ungena kwi-journalism?
I'd say don't.
Yo.
But journalism is a beautiful is a beautiful industry. But if you're in it for the money, you're saying that wrong. But if you're in it to make people aware, you're going wrong.
Sure.
I mean, you're right. Of course, you're not gonna get paid like a chartered accountant. Not gonna be paid like that. but journalism, they pay fairly well, but not as good as it should. Journalists are grossly underpaid. Freelancers even worse. But I think it's just one of those things that are affected by our economy. But yeah, I would encourage people to do journalism. It's a very effective way to uphold the democracy and also funza abantu. There are people who do nothing but read newspapers because they feel like it's a mental exercise for them. That's just one example of how effective journalism is.
Okay, well, there you have it, guys. Thank you for watching. Please do like, subscribe, share, comment, hit the notification bell so you don't get you don't miss out on anything. Yes, yeah, guys, this is a journalist award-winning, yes, Mr. Maliti. We hope one day also a story about us, though. Thank you guys for watching. Please do what you must. Thank you.
Keep up the millions. Like I was so wow, dude.